My Soul Air Jordan 3s finally came in and I'm excited to unbox these things and give you guys a look. Oh yeah, and if you didn't know by now, my name is DJ and this is the DNA Show. So first things first, as you can see, definitely a different type of box compared to your traditional Air Jordan 3 box. Now it has that Jordan 3 OG vibe to a sense. You have that lift off lid with the Jumpman in the center, elephant print all throughout, but they've definitely made a ton of upgrades. So looking at the lid right here, you can see you have your all over cloud print throughout that, the red Jumpman in the center, and then on the bottom half of the box you can actually still see that elephant print, but you have a light texture throughout as well where you can see with your finger, and hopefully you can tell from the images. Now looking at the size tag, it reads Air Jordan 3 Retro OGSP White Black Sport Royal size 13 just for me. And I did end up picking these up in the resale market. I got these from Ggeum, but I spent like 280 bucks or something like that, and in my head I thought that was still a pretty good price for this sneaker based off of the packaging and the materials and overall storyline behind it. Now lifting off the lid of the box right here, you're gonna notice you have some special paper and you have a bow wrapping that up as well, and this is gonna be similar to Jordan's jersey like we saw from the past. And looking at the paper with all these circles in this special pattern, this is gonna be inspired by the hanbok print that's traditional for Korean garments. The paper also features Korean characters and the Jumpman logos throughout, and I think this little red and blue logo in the center is also similar to the Olympics back in '88, but I might be wrong, so let me know down below in the comment section. Now looking at this small black text in these four circles, you'll notice it's actually all the same, and that relates to perseverance and tenacity. Now this symbol right here represents Jeong, also known as affection. And overall, just looking at this paper and seeing all the details, I'm already just excited to unpack the rest of the shoe. Now flipping back to special paper, you'll notice that the shoes also come with an all white paper, and each shoe is individually wrapped. And then you got the shoe. Oh, you got the shoe. Now before we get to breaking down all the amazing details and materials on this shoe, you know we gotta go over the history first. Taking it all the way back to 1988, the original Air Jordan 3 was designed by Tinker Hatfield, and during that time we saw 4 original colorways. Also in 1988, the Olympics were happening in the summertime. Unfortunately, MJ wasn't on that basketball team in 1988, but shortly after some rule changes and some tweaks to the league, next thing you know, we saw the Dream Team in the early 90s. Now there were exhibition games that Michael Jordan did play in, and during this time in '88, the Olympics were also happening in Korea as well. So I can see where they were going kind of with the narrative on how the shoe was created during that same year, and it had to align with the Olympics, even though technically MJ didn't go to those Olympics. So 30 years later, in 2018, they decided to take that storyline and that narrative, mesh a couple things together, and give us the Soul Air Jordan 3s, but they were actually limited to releasing only in Korea, and there was roughly 800 pairs that were in circulation from that release, causing a high demand and obviously high resale prices. The shoe was originally debuted by Korea's head coach around that time in 2018, as we saw him on the FIBA basketball court. From that moment on, everybody wanted to have this pair of shoes in their collection. I was lucky enough to get a pair in my collection as well. Unfortunately, I don't have them anymore because they weren't my size and it just didn't make sense to keep them. So I am still on the hunt for a size 13, but again, I'm not mad at having these. Now shortly after that release in 2018, if you guys remember, during COVID time in 2020, they actually did another release of that same shoe, but it actually has a different style and cut to it. So this was the women's version. These released on October 12th of 2020, and again exclusive to Korea, specific stores, and drops on Sneakers app via a draw. So now that you guys know a little bit more about the history of this shoe, let's go ahead and start going through all the details of these, and you'll see some of the resemblances from the previous pair to here and how they kind of made some upgrades. And some people even called this a part of the Reimagined series, where they reimagined the first version and recreated it, giving us that old vintage look to it. Again, I don't know, that's another thing up for you to decide, but let's go ahead and get into the details. Looking at the outsole, you're gonna notice you have your classic Air Jordan 3 bottom, but this time it's actually a little bit different than normal. So you have a blue right here on the ball of the foot on the left foot with a red Nike branding, and then it's gonna be opposite here, red with the ball of the foot and a blue Nike branding on the heel. Also forgot to mention the Air units are actually opposite colors as well. So if you see blue on the bottom, you're gonna have a red Air unit. If you see red on the bottom, you're gonna have a blue Air unit. So typically this is like one color or the other, but I like how they added this element to the shoes. Now besides that, you're gonna have your classic gray Air Jordan 3 outsole, and then instead of that pure white, you're gonna have that yellow vintage vibe, whatever you like to call it, off-white, sail, you name it. Now going up to the midsole, this is probably one of the pieces of the shoe that everybody either loves, hates, or has some type of opinion about, and that is this aged look, this yellow midsole, whatever you like to call it. Typically when they give it that vintage look, it's not this yellow. I feel like it has a hue to it, but like not as much as this. Yo, real quick, just wanted to let you guys know we're getting very close to 400,000 subscribers, so I need you guys to hit that subscribe button because we got a big giveaway coming for that. So make sure you guys stay tuned for more updates. Now let's get back to the video. Now looking at the front end with the rubber on the toe, you'll notice that you have that sail look compared to that full like tan basically. Now going to the upper, you're gonna have a mixture of a few different materials. You're gonna have like a hairier suede right here on the back end with the elephant print, and the same thing here on the front end. Now these are gonna have that 88 cut like we've been seeing on a lot of the Air Jordan 3s recently. So a lot of people love that and they're excited about the overall shape of the shoe. And when I initially look at this shoe and the overall materials and how it's presented, I kind of think of the Ahmad 3s. That's how I naturally gravitate to that shoe, just based off of color blocking, materials, essentially how it's put together with the cuts and the leathers and everything like that. Again, not the exact same shoe, but kind of similar. Now looking at the mud guard wrapping around the front end and the vamp and the top leather, you'll notice that those are going to be the same thing with that tumbled leather. It's pretty nice, it's soft, it has a good flex to it. Sometimes typically on Air Jordan 3s you have a smooth leather right here on the front end around the toe and on the mud guard area, and then you have more of a tumbled leather here on the top end. Now like I was talking about earlier, if you notice on all these lines and all these cuts, this is going to be similar again to the Ahmad 3s, the Union 1s. Those are great examples right there where you have that yellow liner or whatever you like to call it when it comes to the cuts on the leathers. That's a nice exposed piece, and I think again just gives it more of a premium element and vibe to the shoe, making me say, hey, this is like a PE coming to life as a GR. Because I guarantee you right now, if we would have saw this shoe and it came out and you heard there was only 200 pairs or 300 pairs or 500 pairs, next thing you know, $1,000 shoe just like that. Now these come standard with a pair of sail flat laces, and then on the tongue you have a lighter white leather. It's not a full pure white, but I would say it's more of just a regular white. I don't know if you want to call it eggshell white, whatever. You got a big Jumpman right here on the right tongue on that black logo, and then you have a Korean flag here on the left tongue as well. This is something that we do not see often when it comes to sneakers, a flag representing a country, especially Jordans in particular. So on the tongue on the right foot, you're gonna have that Jeong, same thing as on the paper like we saw earlier. And then on the left foot, you're gonna see it says Ggeum, also meaning dream. So again, another cool detail and element that's added to this shoe. That's kind of one of those subtle things, right? Just behind the tongue, but another piece to represent the culture. Now look inside of the collar, you're gonna notice you have something similar to that crushed red velvet. And this is also another thing that Korea is known for. Pulling out the insole, you're gonna notice you have your all white sock liner with your black Nike Air branding. Nothing really special about that part, but one thing that's cool is we got a Dream Cell insole. So like we talk about on collaborations or original releases, we would love to have at least a Dream Cell or a polyurethane insole, which is always convenient. So having this on there again is going to add more comfort to the shoe. And overall, I feel like they've been switching the material on the foam on these midsoles, because these new 3s and a lot of these newer retros has been coming out over the past year and a half. They've been feeling just a little bit more comfortable. Speaking of that, how do you guys feel about the white cement Air Jordan 4s? I've been rocking them, and honestly, I like the fit. Now going to the back end around the collar, you're going to notice it's going to be switched up from the original release like we saw again, but a switch with materials. So you got that all over blue with the vertical stitch throughout that area, and then on the back end of the tab, you'll notice again classic to your Air Jordan 3 with the Nike Air. These come with your classic OG hang tag. You got your beaded hang tag. One thing that a lot of people love about this with the metal beads. How do you guys feel about these when it comes to pricing, the market overall, when it comes to these special collaborations or storyline pieces, whatever you want to call them, and then the overall presentation of the packaging and all those other small elements? Does that justify the value as well with the higher retail price point or a resale price point? We'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions right now in this current market. And then also, how do you guys feel about the shoe in general? Is it fire? Is it trash? Now you guys know I'll post a poll on my Instagram story all the time for every review. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Instagram so you can participate in those and see all the results here. This is what the people said. 80% of the people chose fire and 20% of the people chose trash. Clear indicator that a lot of people love the shoe. But again, some people said, hey, I'm trying to get this shoe, and I know this is coming out, and those are coming out, and that's coming out, so I can't get all these shoes at the same time. They might have either flown under the radar, or people didn't realize how nice they were until they got them in hand after the fact when they came out, or they had budget for something else and they said, hey, I'm gonna have to get those later. I could see all the different reasonings and scenarios as to why this may not have been their #1 sneaker for the month, saying that there was a ton of other great stuff releasing at the same time. So I've heard a lot of stories, but again, I would love to hear how you feel and how you're thinking and what your mindset is, whether you have it, want it, don't want it, plan on getting it later. I want to hear everything down below. So with all that being said, I appreciate you guys as always, and stay tuned. I just got the 85 Jordan 1 Low Royals in, so I'm excited to give you guys a review on these next. Stay tuned for that, and I'm out. 400K subscribers. We're so close. Hit the subscribe button, bruh.
I would never let you down. It's in my DNA. The only choice I like to make, what I'ma wear today. I would would never let you down, it's in my DNA. The only choice I like to make what I'ma wear today. I was made for it, it's in the DNA.